Welcome to Storytime at the Rubus, a weekly podcast about the Bonnaroo Music and Arts Festival. I'm your host, Sharla.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Daniel, and Sharla and I have just returned a couple of days ago from a whirlwind trip in NYC for a number of things, but we were also there for the TOTEM meetup. Big shout out to everyone that came out that night. Sharla, it was like 15 years ago that you were last in NYC. How did it treat you this time?
Oh, well, it was at least 2009 or so when I was there the last time. And this time it was completely different. And I think one of the main reasons it was different for me is we actually know people there. So Evan, Skylar, Lisa, they were able to show us around, take us to so many awesome, cool places.
Yeah, I had a blast, man. I did with them last year. We went to a couple of different places down in the East Village. We hit up a couple of different ones this year, but we started at La Palapa, the same place that we did last year. It's an amazing Mexican restaurant down in the East Village. They have hosted us 2 years in a row. It's a great space in the back where we've got room for about 24 or so people. I think this year we actually had a few more than we did last year. Did you have kind of a rough estimate of how many showed up?
Oh, there was at least 20 or more people there.
I want to say like 25. It was fantastic. You in particular did an amazing job going through our slides and doing our overview of what's new with TOTEM in 25. I kind of missed it because I'm mainly there for my day job. So I'm in the Uber riding down, and I think Brooklyn was live streaming it on the TOTEM Instagram. And I heard comments from people that they were seeing a different side of you. Apparently you killed it during that presentation. So thanks for doing that.
I don't know about that.
Well, I heard from a number of people. They were like, whoa, I didn't know Sharla could do stand-up or whatever.
Well, I guess I need to start all presentations off with at least 2 marks then.
That's what did it. Yeah, speaking of which, you made me one. I'm going to have it that right now. Yeah, we had a couple of pictures of them there, thanks to Evan. But yeah, big thanks to Evan and Skylar and others for putting that together over at La Palapa again this year. It is a big investment to make community a big part of what we are doing with TOTEM, because it takes a community to put together the mentors for the mentees and to get the word out about the scholarships and then to mentor the scholarship recipients that we'll have this year. So being able to talk with everyone the past couple of weeks in both Nashville and in NYC really does a lot to do what we're doing with TOTEM, right, Sharla?
Oh, absolutely. And also just meeting all of our Patreons, all of our donors, just meeting them face to face. That's such a wonderful experience.
Yeah, and we will be doing more of these in the future. I know we have heard from a number of people, Maddie, that means you, that everybody wants us to do one in Atlanta at some point. That will happen. It's just a matter of fitting it into our schedule. And we're potentially looking at doing one in Chicago later in the year. It would be after Rue, but Shayna has been twisting my arm into that. So we're looking into it. Nothing is official on those other 2 events just yet, but it definitely is on our radar. So look for more information about that soon or not so soon if we're doing the one in Chicago. Yeah, and that sound that you heard is Ricky's dinner coming from his feeder. He's happy that we're back too. But yeah, Charlotte, New York treated you well from what I heard? You had a good time other than just the TOTEM stuff?
Oh, I had a wonderful time. How about you, Daniel?
Well, we were very lucky that we just happened to be in town right in time for the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary. That was awesome, man.
Oh, I know you love that.
Yeah, I have loved that show ever since I was like in middle school. Everybody says that your favorite cast in SNL is the one that you first watch when you're in high school or whatever, but I've always loved them all. There's not a cast that I haven't liked. Being able to see like the props and costumes from all those and sit at the Weekend Update desk. That was so cool.
That was really cool. Such a good experience.
I was freaking out. I saw that Evan and Skylar did some kind of experience that they had a couple of weeks ago where it looked as if they were on the show. That was amazing.
That was cool.
But yeah, New York showed us a really good time this time around. Man, it was just so much fun. After we had your presentation at La Palapa, we also had the afters at this really cool place that Evan brought us to, and I want to give a shout out. It's a little south of the East Village, if I remember. It was about 6 or 7 blocks south of La Palapa. It's called the Flower Shop. That place was amazing. It looked like one of those places that Stefan talked about, speaking of SNL, you know.
Oh, the Flower Shop was so cool. It's got like a retro kind of 70s, 80s vibe in there. And it was just such a super cool place. We go in and we have to go downstairs to like a basement, and it's literally set up like a basement should be from the 70s or 80s. So just such super cool vibes in there.
And apparently just a night or two after we were there, Sarah and Bowen from the current SNL cast came in there to party for the afters for the SNL 50th show. So
yeah,
apparently
that's cool.
Evan picks a good place, or we're trendsetters or something. That's what he was joking about with me on a text. But yeah, check that place out if you're in the neighborhood. Free plug for them. There was a really cool little photo booth in there that you found too. It was free.
Okay, so yeah, they had this really cool photo booth, and it was, you go in, and normally you think, oh, it's going to charge me, or it said enter your email, and I thought, oh, well, it'll be like pay here to view your pictures or whatever. No, it was completely free.
I love that little rig. I kind of want to have one at the bus.
It was super, super cool.
Yeah. I don't know. We need to find out who would do that. Evan, that's your homework. Find out who made that rig. I would love to have one.
I know.
Oh,
I have all that information.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, Evan, still get back with me on that. It would be cool for Brooklyn to have one at Straight to L here in Huntsville.
Yeah, that would be super cool. We were talking about that, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got a little bit coming up on the show for you this week. We have a couple of clips that we recorded on the spot in NYC. I talked with Evan and Skylar a little bit separately about some different fun stuff, and Brooklyn and I got bored in Central Park, and we recorded a little bit from there. So you will hear from all of those in just a few moments. And after that, Sharla and I are going to dig into the recently announced late night schedule that came out while we were in New York.
Yep.
I think we can figure out a little bit of the rest of the schedule from the late night schedule as well, if you take my meaning. Like, if you see who's playing late, you can kind of put two and two together and figure out who's going to be our sub-headliners.
Oh, I think we can.
Yeah, I think we can make a fairly educated guess at that. So that will be coming up after the New York clips. But for right now, speaking of our Nashville and New York events, we need to thank our Patreons.
Oh.
We met a good number of them the past couple of events.
Absolutely. And it's been so much fun hanging out with you guys and meeting all of you guys, and we want to meet more of you. And we can't wait until Rue to meet everyone.
Yeah, I think we're planning on putting a little event together again just for our Patreons.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out as we get closer to June. We'll let you know. But Charlotte, can you name off our names?
Absolutely.
I know it's a lot these days.
Okay, Delaney, Molly, John with the Texas Rue Crew, Daniel, Brady, I Am Rave Dad, Taylor, Courtney, Casey with the Texas Rue Crew, Christy, Charmel, Jums, David and Aurora, String Bean, Zach and Jeremy, Amber and Andrea, JB, Sam, Austin, James, Chelsea, a.k.a. Hygiene Queen, Ryan, Chris and Shy, Dan, Harris, Keith, Casey, Andrew, Amanda, Nick, Maddie, McFerg, Kent, Randy, Bosco, Eric and Ben, Evan, Jay, Chloe, and Sean.
Thank you, guys. You can find that at patreon.com/Rebus. Every cent goes to the Totem Foundation. It has been tremendous how much support we have been getting recently. I was checking the financials right as I logged into Patreon, and it's well over $400 that we're getting in right now per month, all thanks to your help. It's been amazing. We are going to be able to, and I just pulled up the thing right now, $438 a month right now. We're always transparent about those kind of things. So that funds everything that we're doing for our scholarship recipients. It funds all of our overhead that we have to have as a 501c3. In fact, we're doing our taxes right now, going through a lot of that. Shout out to Brad, our accountant here in Huntsville. We know a lot of Brads these days. You have to distinguish which Brad it is.
It's Brad the accountant.
Brad the accountant. Some of you have met him. He's a funny guy. I'm trying to get him to come to Root one of these days. He just won't. He's like, oh, it's Father's Day. The kids want to do something for me. I'm like, no, bro, you got to come to Root. He was supposed to come see the Foo Fighters last year. But anyways, I digress. You can find us at patreon.com/Rebus. Every cent goes to the Totem Foundation. You can find more at totemfnd.org. And we should mention that the deadline for applications for both of our programs are coming up very soon. It's the end of the month. So we're recording this on Wednesday the 19th, a little late. So if you're listening to this on the 20th, you have almost a week and a half. This is a short month. So Friday the 28th is the last day that you have to apply to be a mentor, a mentee, or to encourage a friend to apply for a scholarship. We want to get in as many as we can, but we have to cut it off at some point because we have to start going through them all, right?
Yes, we'll go through them, and we will contact the finalists in March for the scholarship applicants, and we will conduct phone interviews with these scholarship finalist as well.
And mentors and mentees, we're going to change that up just a little bit this year. We found a couple of areas for small improvements with that last year. So we're going to have a couple of different like events and phone calls for our matches to better get acquainted with one another way ahead of Rue. That was something that we ran into. And look, I'll just be honest. We had some mentors and mentees that got ghosted or whatever, and we're looking to fix that problem this time around, right?
Exactly.
We always knew there were going to be some lessons learned the first time around in our beta year last year, and we think that we are able to fix that this time around. So more to come on that. We'll be emailing you as we get everybody matched, and we start getting you all of the information shortly after the applications close.
So one thing I really wanted to point out is where our money actually goes, especially pertaining to the scholarship recipients. For our scholarship recipients, we do provide all of their camping supplies. So think about someone that's actually just starting out and has no camping supplies whatsoever, would need to go buy every single item that they needed for Bonnaroo, plus a few, little extra things, because we all love the little extra goodies. Also, we give them a cash stipend to spend on the farm so that they can go buy their meals every day, so they don't have to worry about food, and so they can go get them some really cool merchandise as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I told them up front last year, I was like, I expect you to do some stupid stuff. That's part of the experience. And also, we should point out that all of these camping supplies and everything, that is theirs to keep after the fact. It's not like we're giving scholarship recipients used stuff the next year. Mm-hmm. So we want them to keep coming back to Rue or any other festival that they choose to go to. So that's theirs to keep. That's part of their scholarship package. So that is where that money goes to. And like Sharla said, if somebody's starting from scratch, it does cost a chunk of change. So that's a lot of where that funding goes. And as far as other funding, I've said this before, we're saving stuff in our bank because we want to eventually be able to do the international program, and that will not be cheap. We've, estimated at an early stage that that's going to cost about $10,000. So anything that we save after we hook up our scholarship recipients and after we cover any nonprofit business overhead is being saved for that. And we have pretty good savings as it is. So we're just kind of waiting on the situation to chill out in Haiti. We'll talk more in depth about that sometime. I'd like to get somebody from one of the partner orgs that we've been talking with to come on and speak more specifically to that.
That would be cool. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
We'll do that at some point. I want to do a little update talk about that at Rue too, because we're not going to give up on Haiti just because they're having a hard time. They will be the first place that we work with. It just might take some time for the political situation down there to chill out a little bit. But again, we'll talk way more about that at some point in the future. But to circle back around, if you want to be a Patreon, it is at patreon.com/Rubus. And if you want to learn more about Totem, or if you want to apply for one of the two programs, it is at totemfnd.org. That's where the application is. I heard that, I'm not going to name her, but a friend went to the old Rubus site that we never work with anymore looking for the application. You know who you are. I'm just playfully joking with you. But yeah, totemfnd.org. You can find both applications there. Now, Sharla, let's go ahead and jump into the fun stuff that we recorded from New York. First up, we have me and Brooklyn just goofing off in Central Park. And then we have Evan and Skylar, both from around the East Village that night. So let's go.
Let's do it.
All right, welcome back. We're doing a little time traveling here in this episode, I'm sure. So I'm sitting here with somebody you all know.
Ginger Marbles.
Ginger Marbles.
A.K.A. Tahine Queen.
Yes.
A.K.A. Brooklyn. A.K.A. Phoenix. A.K.A. I'll shut up now.
How many do you have? Oh, yeah, Phoenix is what you give them at the Starbucks counter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do me a solid. Describe the scene right now. After you vape, thank you.
Well, have you ever played the Spider-Man games?
The recent ones.
Yeah. Well, there's a part where you can go into Central Park and there's an amphitheater and then there's a DJ playing. Well, we're sitting right there in front of that amphitheater.
She wanted to sit over here and chill for a little bit.
Like, what if we walked over there and recorded the rest?
Oh, on that? I don't know. There's like a big thing of snow.
Yeah.
It's a little tricky. So this is your first time in NYC. We've been here less than 24 hours, but we did a lot last night. Do you want to talk a little bit about what we got up to last night, our first night here?
This club has everything. Okay, no. First, we went to
I was
30
about to
Rock.
go with the joke. Yeah.
We went to 30 Rock, and we saw the cowbell outfit that Will Ferrell
That was
wore.
the actual fit that he had on over 20 years ago
That's
in
so
the more
cool.
cowbell. That's so cool.
And then we saw the Weekend Update screen, and then we ate calamari and wings, and had 2 palomas.
Oh yeah.
And
And they were doing the table read for the 50th anniversary of SNL upstairs literally while we were doing that. We would find out after the fact. That's insane to me.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then we got on the subway, and we went to Brooklyn, and we ate pizza and got a beer, and then we walked all the way back from the Brooklyn Bridge to
Midtown.
Times Square.
Yeah.
We went straight to Times Square.
Google said that was a little over 4 miles. Well, we didn't go straight there. We went to some other things too.
Yeah, I got a unicorn from a Nathan's hot dog stand. It was just gifted to me, and his name is Nathan now. his hair is a little melted from, I'm assuming, the hot thing.
I
that's
think
in
Nathan
the
has
stand.
seen some things.
Yeah, he's a little ratchet looking, but
But what do you think of New York? Your first time here. You've had almost a day to get the idea of the place. What do you think?
I live here now.
You live here now. Yeah. I was joking before we started recording that, and I think I said this last year, New York reminds me in some ways of the Bonnaroo vibe because there's weird stuff happening everywhere. There's fun art. We saw like a lot of Burning Man style art near the Flatiron District last night. That was really cool.
It was really neat.
Like, yeah, there's not a lot of the radiate positivity vibe because, you know, people, New Yorkers, they have that attitude. They're getting where they're going. That's okay. It's
Hustle
not-
and bustle.
Yeah, that's cool. Everybody understands that. But there's still a little bit of the same ingredients
It's
in
like,
this
ooh,
town.
look at this. Ooh, piece of candy.
You know, Santa Claus said you shouldn't eat that candy. He told Buddy that, remember?
I wonder how many are underneath this bench that we're sitting on.
Probably a lot. There's probably a lot you don't want to know about this bench.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited to see a lot of our crew tomorrow. So Evan and Skylar live across the river, obviously.
I can see them.
You can see them from here in Central Park. I don't think.
Yeah,
you can
there
see
they
them.
are, right there.
Oh, they're here. Oh my god. Oh my god. No, they're not here.
That'd be funny.
That was literally
Yeah,
them
that'd be
screaming just now.
hilarious.
I heard like caca, caca. But yeah, Jax is coming in. Lisa is here. Like
Yeah.
we got a good crew. We're gonna have
It's
fun.
also
tomorrow.
Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's. Yeah, Charlotte's gonna be here later today. We gotta make a stop. I'm gonna surprise her with a couple of gifts. Yeah. What's funny is we've time traveled. You've probably already heard from her in this episode. Maybe she talks about that if I did a good job. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Anyways, are you ready to go to the Met and
Yeah.
be Gossip Girl?
Yes.
Okay. We got to find you some sunnies too.
Blur. Blur.
Blur. Oh my God. All right. I am in some neighborhood down in Lower Manhattan. Where are we at?
Lower East Side.
All right. What's the name of this place again, Evan?
It's called the Flower Shop. Flower like a rose or a tulip.
You're a flower. So tell me the quick story about how you found this place.
Oh, I was just hanging around the city with my buddy Ryan, and we went to this awesome, potentially my favorite place in the whole city, Barrio Chino, which is a great Mexican spot and great drinks. And he suggested we could come here later on. They have a leopard skin pool table.
I saw that. That's pimp as hell, dude.
It's a totally 70s. It's kind of like walking into that 70s show. And he brought me here, and basically as soon as we walked down into the basement, I was like, we have to bring the Totem event here.
You wanted to have the whole thing here,
Yes,
right?
I did want to. The financials didn't really work out because they wanted to make it worth their while and have like a significant minimum, which wasn't really in the cards for us. But I was like, all right, we'll have it at La Palapa, and then for the afters, we'll bring everyone here. And I think it was the perfect place for it.
Worked very well. We should give Lapa Lapa a shout out. This is
Oh,
the second
totally.
year in a row. Tell a little bit about that place. This is your city, so you should tell about it.
Yeah, so it's in the East Village on St. Mark's Place. I go there twice a month at least. They're super hospitable. They have banging Mexican food, awesome drinks, and somehow there's always an open table, and they're super friendly, and it's a great place to host an event.
So I was a little late because I was working the day job. How did Sharla do for the Totem presentation?
It was a side of Sharla I've never seen before, especially because Sharla was a little keeping to herself earlier in the day.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she was like, 4:15, I'm putting the slides on, and then she turned into like work mode Sharla.
Now you see what I see, yeah.
And I'm like halfway through the presentation, I was like, Sharla, you are killing it.
Yeah.
So I was super, super impressed by that.
That's how she does, man. She acts kind of quiet, but when she has something to do, she just like goes into another gear.
Yes.
I'm glad you guys got to see that. You see that sometimes at camp around the monkey bar if we have something going on.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. But yeah,
she's a quiet killer.
Oh, I like. Oh, can that be her band, the Quiet Killers? Yeah. We had a good crew come out tonight too. I think it was a little bit bigger than last year.
Yeah, I would say it's roughly the same size.
You think so?
But we got, I would say, a little bit better diversity.
Yeah.
From like the Festivers especially. I think last year a lot of people were kind of just obliging me and just because they were my friend, but I think we got a little more interest from like actually like super invested people.
Yeah. Shout out to Caitlin from the festival.
Oh yeah,
for coming out. I appreciate her
We
support
got
all the time.
Caitlin, Taylor took a couple photos that we're gonna grab from him, and then we had Edric from the Festivers.
Oh yeah,
Matt, aka Trunk, and Kristen out there too, and they're also from my home state of New Jersey, and so we made some really cool connections there.
Heck yeah, man. All right, it's loud in here, and we're not entirely sober. So we'll throw it to future or past us.
It's only going to get worse.
It might. We'll do some more later. Thank you, Evan.
Do I have cheese on my chin still?
Do you?
Cheese chin.
I'm not editing this.
They
This
call me
is staying.
Skylar Cheese Chin Courage.
Skylar, where the heck are we?
We are at Williamsburg, Brooklyn Lower East Side Pizza, Wine, and
I don't think we're in
Narragansetts.
Brooklyn. I don't remember going across the river.
It's called something
it?
similar to that. Yeah, they have draft beers, Narragansett, 16-ounce pints, $3.
So, oh my
I just
God.
read the sandwich board outside.
This is my second year in a row hitting up this part of town with you guys. And I have come to love this neighborhood. First of all, because I hang out with you guys here. And
It's an incredible neighborhood.
You
This
know
place
the
has
neighborhood.
so much character.
You know where to take me. But yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Can you tell me a bit about why this is one of your favorite parts of town? Down here in like East Village, and where the heck are we now?
Well, we're on the Lower East Side.
Lower East Side, yeah.
Below Houston, we're on the Lower East Side, and this is like Chinatown is a big part of this neighborhood. It is
Take my pizza bones.
Pizza Bones.
beautiful and full of music and culture. In the 70s, this is where CBGB's Max's Kansas City were. This is where bands like the Talking Heads and Blondie got their start. The Ramones. Like this is the area. There are some really fucking beautiful music venues down here. There used to be a place that closed recently, but when I was in college, they had 3 stages, and one of them was always free. So when I was like the brokest college student of all time in 2009, I would come down here. I would go to Rockwood Music Hall Stage 1. I would buy $2 PBRs, and I would watch music for the afternoon. And it was like there's always something to do, even
Now,
when there's
where
nothing
was-
to do.
Where was that? That was in this neighborhood?
Yeah, it was
A couple
on
blocks
Allen
from
and
here?
Houston, a couple blocks from here. And it's gotten taken over by a new music venue since they closed down. It's called Baker Falls.
Yeah.
And they've been putting on some pretty cool shows, like a lot of local stuff. One of the things I loved about Rockwood was that they showcased local musicians, and you could play here when nobody knew who you were. And it's like some of my friends got their start in this neighborhood, like people that I know in this city who are musicians and working as musicians. This is a really reliable place where you can get shows, and just people are always going to be there because they're interested in seeing music.
On the way down to this pizza place, we walked by a little small venue that had people lined up around the block.
Was it the Mercury Lounge?
I don't know. This is your neighborhood. You tell me.
I think that was just a popular restaurant.
Yeah, I might have
Was
this
it?
restaurant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mercury
called-
Lounge
it was
is
called
pretty close
Schmucks.
by. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
that's
right.
what it was.
But we're right by. There used to be a place down here called the Living Room on Ludlow Street, where I saw the Punch Brothers play every week in 2011. Like literally, they did a residency. I saw them write the album Anti-Phlegmatic. Like it was. Chris Thiele hit me in the head with his mandolin one time. It was so cool.
So I didn't realize. So you and I have talked about this before. We love that little era of NYC, like late 70s, early 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Very grungy. You could just like walk into a place like, hey, there's Andy Warhol, coked out of his mind or whatever.
Art rock was in its prime.
I didn't realize CBGB's was here.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember like how far away from it?
I
know
know
it's something
exactly.
else now.
It's not too far. Yes.
CBGB's was in like Tribeca.
Tribeca? Okay.
It's a van store now.
It is a van store now. I do know that.
That makes at least a little bit of sense.
It's in. I'm 90% sure it's Tribeca.
But still, that's not a super far walk from where we are. That's about.
It's in the East Village, closed in 2006. Haley Cristal opened it. Started careers for the Patti Smith Group, the Cramps, Joan Jett, Cro-Mags. It was not too far away from here. Hang on.
Okay.
I'll find out exactly where it is.
So I want to ask you your opinion, and you guys would know this better than me. Do you feel like there is a direct lineage between that whole generation, like Ramones, Blondie, Talking Heads, to like the later era of like grungy NYC music, like
yeah,
the
absolutely.
Strokes?
A very leading question, but yes.
For sure, yeah. That it all leads into each other. Like the beginning of the garage rock resurgence in New York City, like the beginning of Indie Sleaze was Jonathan Fire Eater, and they were big. They released maybe 2 albums, and they were big in like the 98, 99, 2000. They were pre-Strokes, and they were a direct offshoot of those kind of bands. Like it was late Nirvana. Like they came from the art rock scene through the grunge scene, and you can kind of see echoes of both in there.
Yeah.
But they started that, and then the Strokes came after, and then Interpol, and then the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, and James Murphy and DFA and LCD Sound System. Like it all sprung out of the art rock movement of the 80s, and CBGB was a huge part of that. Max's Kansas City was a huge part of that. Like there were curators in this neighborhood who made a gigantic difference in what music sounds like in this city.
So what does that lead us to now? So like a lot of those bands, like everybody loves them, but they're not exactly on like the festival scene now.
I mean,
so like where are we at?
It's harder to find them now. It's not as organic, and there's a little bit of an overexposure issue.
Yeah.
But like if you look a little further into Brooklyn, if you look a little further into like the DNA of the city, you can still find that really grungy, like gritty kind of street sound. And we saw Jack White earlier this week, and Gustav opened for them, and they are 100% in line with that. Like they're very reminiscent of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. They're very like they're theatrical, they're punk, they're weird, they're fun, they're incredibly musical. Like it's a really wonderful thing that's still part of this city, and you can still find it. You just have to look a little harder, and you have to be a little more discerning, because like you can't look on TikTok for that shit. You got to find it by
like
going
it for
to
that
shows.
reason.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I know that it's a blessing and a curse, but I know you are too. I'm so ready for some stuff like that to make a resurgence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think we're close to it? You know better than me.
I don't think it ever went away.
Oh.
I think it's just a little, like I said, a little harder to find.
Yeah.
And a little bit more kind of nuanced.
Yeah.
But it's still there. It's always been there. It's never been gone. Like I have a friend that I went to high school with who is in a band in the city called the Night Spins, and they are absolutely the same vein as this. They are
Night Spins?
Night Spins,
Okay.
yeah. They're artistic and musical and grungy and fun and like incredibly fun to watch. The lead singer is the guy I went to high school with. His name's Josh Brocky, and he is just an incredible person to watch on stage. He is exciting and fun and loves what he's doing. And I'm a champion of all of my friends who are in bands in this city. Like I have a friend who's in a band called Bandits on the Run, and they're going to be in a couple folk festivals this coming season.
Yeah.
They're on the Summerfest lineup, and where are they? Milwaukee. Where the fuck is Summerfest?
That sounds right.
Somewhere in the Midwest.
Evan knows
yeah.
Milwaukee.
But they're opening for the Wood Brothers on a couple of shows.
Yeah.
Like they're incredibly talented, and it's wonderful that they have a platform to grow and a place that welcomes them and a place that enjoys them. You know what I mean?
I'm so glad I asked you these questions on these things. Nobody I know is more
the fucking
knowledgeable.
New York City scene, man. It's amazing here. It's always been amazing here. It's never going to stop being amazing here. You just got to know what you're looking for.
It's been a good weekend for that too, because SNL has been celebrating a lot of that style of music.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's in town, they have them every once in a while.
My man Jack White closed the SNL 50th show last night with a Neil Young cover and the song that he wrote himself. I don't know if you guys know this, but Jack White wrote the song Seven Nation Army.
Oh, the sports ball song.
The sports song, yeah. That's
Oh, that one?
He wrote that song. Yeah, that's his song.
Oh my god. All right, guys, this is some good pizza. I think we're ready to jump and go see some other
Let's
stuff.
fucking boogie.
Oh my gosh, that was so much fun.
Oh my gosh. So both times that I talked to Evan and Skylar, we were obviously not entirely sober. I think there's been a lot of segments on the show like that over the years.
I thought you were completely sober the entire weekend.
That was
never
a wild weekend.
Not one time.
Also, we should go back and thank a couple of people. It's tough to thank everybody because we had a number of people at the Totem event. But first of all, I want to give a shout out to Jax and the Hobbit. A number of people will know what that means. For coming so far from Salt Lake to come hang with everybody. That meant a lot.
Yeah, Jax flew all the way from Salt Lake City, Utah.
SLUT.
And that's just so cool. I mean,
Yeah.
Jax is one of our board members and just does amazing stuff for Totem.
Yeah, and also a shout out to Caitlin from the Festiverse. Many of you may know her. She does all of the cat wrangling on the Festiverse Discord and tries to restore order whenever Brad shows up, I suppose. We kind of joked around about that. But yeah, I was very thankful that she came out as well. She is an integral part of the Rue community, and we were so happy to have her since she is in the area. So, man, what a blast. We'll do more stuff like that in the future. Like we mentioned before, look for more information about potential Atlanta and Chicago events coming up soon. Now, Sharla, now that we're past all this fun New York stuff, do you want to talk about the late night schedule that came out while we were out of town?
Okay, let's do it.
I feel like this is the first domino to fall for all
is.
of the solid news that we're going to get after the lineup announcement from about a month and a half ago now. So, look, so let's just go through it. So, you all saw the graphic, but let's just review. So, Thursday, for late night sets, we have Dom Dalla, ICP, that is going to be a wild party, Joey Valance and Bray. Friday, we have Glass Animals. That's going to be wild. We'll talk about that in a moment. Tipper, Megadeth, Of the Trees, and JPEG Mafia. Saturday, we have Justice, Arcade Fire. That was a wild one to drop. King Gizzard, Gorgon City, and Crank That. So, well, first of all, Charlotte, out of those late night shows, are there any that stand out to you that you're dying to go to?
I'm going to go see ICP.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think everybody is.
You got to. Why would you not?
Look, it's such a wild booking. I think everybody, even if they're not that familiar or not even that much of a fan, is going to go rubberneck at that just to see what's going on.
You're going to be walking by like it's yeah.
I still say this is an absolute genius booking, and I think it was a no-brainer to put them at late night like this, too.
Oh, clearly.
Here's the thing, though. I think there will be such demand to see them, I think they have to consider putting them on the Witch on Thursday. I know that's not ever been a thing, but I think if you've got a band with that kind of following, like we make fun of the Juggalos, but they're out there and they are legion.
No, they'll be in a tent.
I know they will be, but I wish they would at least consider.
They'll be in a tent.
It's going to be tricky.
It'll be like Guar was.
Guar wasn't. I mean, I think it will be more crowded than Guar was. I mean, I saw a thing showing that Guar is celebrating their 40th anniversary this coming year, which I know that blew my mind as well. But I still think that ICP, we joke about it, but they have their own festival. They have an amazing, huge community with the Juggalos. We joke about it, but it's real. I think that could be, really overflowing if it's in a tent.
Well, I know right now, I think the plans for them are to be in a tent. So.
Oh boy, I hope they reconsider. All right. What about Friday? Other than Glass Animals, that's obvious. Anything else jump out at you?
Glass Animals, Tipper, and Of the Trees would be my top three right there.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one, obviously Glass Animals.
That was also a no-brainer. I mean, late nights in the middle of June, it had to happen, right?
Clearly.
There was no other choice. What about Saturday?
Saturday, in the park.
Must have been the 4th of July. All right,
oh,
seriously.
God. I don't know because the schedule hasn't came out yet. But
It's tough to say.
Obviously, King Giz.
Saturday has the worst late night conflicts.
Yeah, I was kind of like, ugh.
I think it's going to break a lot of hearts if Justice and King Gizzard are at the same time. And look, let's go ahead and talk about it. Arcade Fire. There are so many mixed feelings on this for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. So apparently it's not. There was a lot of rumors going around that it was a DJ set only. Apparently that's not what it is.
Yeah.
Apparently it's like Arcade Fire presents Santa
Parada? I'm not sure what it is.
And it's not just a DJ set. Like, it's still yet to be determined.
I don't know. That could be the name of their new album. I don't think anybody knows.
I have some ideas.
Well, tell me your ideas.
Oh, I'm not going to say them publicly.
Well, I mean, what's the point of having a podcast if you're not going to say your ideas? Like, give me one of them. Come on, give me a hint.
So, Santa, are we thinking...
Santa Claus? No.
Santa Claus?
No.
In a certain Santa Claus Christmas-themed...
I did not even consider that.
Did nobody else think about that? Because that was my first thought.
Can we break news? Is this public?
No.
It's not public?
No, God, no.
Can we talk about it? Can we talk about it?
Can you rewind?
No, I'm not going to. I'll just give a hint. Something beloved may be coming back.
But that's a rumor, so.
A little bit more than a rumor. I think
it's
the power of this podcast may have brought a little something certain from New Orleans back.
Wasn't that?
Yeah. Well, you're on the podcast. Anyways, all right. Okay. If Arcade Fire doesn't conflict with Justice or King Gizzard, which I know is a long shot, I would go. I've seen it before. They have been my favorite band in the past, but they are complicated now for reasons that we won't fully discuss on the podcast. You can just Google Win Butler's name, and you'll see why a lot of people are conflicted about it.
Yes. Win Butler did have a lot of allegations against him. I won't get into them. Obviously, you can Google them for yourself, but eek.
There's a lot of eek, and it's been tricky. We've run into this conversation a number of times because Rue has booked people who have complicated histories in the past, Mm-hmm. There was a lot of people that were very ick about MGK a couple of years ago, for example, I can't recall right now because I don't spend a lot
Who was it last year?
Yeah, I can't even recall, but there was somebody
I don't know.
that had
Somebody
a lot
I don't pay attention to, clearly.
But it seems like there's one artist per year that a lot of people are like, kind of upset about, and for understandable reasons, and I think that is going to be Arcade Fire this year. I mean, there's a whole other band that isn't Win Butler, so I don't know. I don't want to get into it on the podcast. We can talk offline about this with any of you if you'd like. But again, if Arcade Fire doesn't conflict, I would like to see them because, honestly, they were my favorite band at a couple of different points. I still think The Suburbs is probably the greatest album of that decade, even with all of that complication involved.
Can I be for real
Yeah.
for a minute? I never really got into Arcade Fire.
Really?
They looked snooty to me.
Well, you're not wrong.
I'll just be straight up.
You're
they
not
looked
wrong.
snooty.
All right. We could go all day about this. So one thing I did want to talk about a little bit is how we can extrapolate some of the bands that we can probably realistically expect to be sub-headliners or whatever, since now we know the bands that are playing late nights. So it doesn't really matter on Thursday because those are the huge names that are playing on Thursday at late night. But let's look at Friday. So two names that aren't on the late night list are John Summit and Goose. Goose I don't think is a big surprise because they have another festival to get to that same weekend. But do we think that possibly they could be put on the last act before the headliner on either I combined the two words, what or which?
I don't know. I could see that. What time did Goose play last time?
Last time it was pretty late night because I remember going over there after King Gizzard. It was like 3 in the morning if I remember correctly.
No, I thought it was like 8 p.m.
No, it was pretty late. It was pretty late, and they played for a long time.
Okay, well, then yes.
Yeah. If you were scheduling it, would you put them on what or which? I think you give them the pre-headliner on what.
Yeah.
I think they've earned it. And I think you give them an hour and a half, at bare minimum.
I would say which.
Well, if you put them at which, then they've got probably a shorter set time. I don't know.
This is true.
There's a lot to consider. John Summit, I think that realistically is the last slot on the other before the headliner goes. But Goose, that's going to be interesting where they place them. I really think they play before the headliner.
I think they'll be on which.
Yeah, traditionally they do that, but I think they've earned what as big as they are these days.
Go ahead. As long as they get their money, they're not,
They getting that money. What? All right, let's go to Saturday. So realistically, we can expect Avril Lavigne. I think it's pretty realistic to expect her to be the sub-headliner that night on Saturday. But also R.L. Grime. That's probably the last one on the other. And how do you say her name?
Glorilla.
I never say her name right. Glorilla. She's probably closing out the Witch. I think those three names are pretty easy to guess that they'll be the last ones on those respective big stages that night. Mm-hmm. So I guess the only big question is, where are they going to put Goose on Friday? Yet again, I need to talk to Kara. She might know.
Yeah, Kara would know.
Now, here's my thing that makes me suspect that Goose may potentially go on what before the headliner that night. When we were at the Totem event the other night, I was talking with Evan and Kara, who know this stuff better than me, about Goose's huge new lighting rig that is apparently on fish levels now. If they're going to use that, I think the what makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't do the stage plots. I don't know. I'm just looking at it from an involved fan's perspective, but I think that makes a lot of sense. So we shall see, I suppose. But yeah, these are good late night picks. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I think the biggest news is Glass Animals. And this is just my opinion, this is Daniel's opinion only, so don't at me about this. If their latest album wasn't a comparable dud, I think they would have been a headliner at this point. So it's interesting to me, even without the late night in the middle of June thing, that they are playing kind of a headliner late night slot. Does that make sense? So here's my question I will pose. Is it possible that we have Glass Animals do a late night headlining slot on the what?
No.
You don't think so?
No. And what makes you think that they're a late, quote, as you said, late night headliner?
I think they are within a stone's throw of being a headliner. They are a headliner, a full headliner, at smaller fests sometimes. So I think them having that respect of being on the main stage makes sense for them. They, through that lyric, have become very special to the community.
Well, yeah.
You know? I know I keep making this push to the organizers to put these bands on the what, but I think it's something that you realistically have to look at for acts like Glass Animals or Justice. There will be arguments made, and they are logical ones, that the Witch can support these kind of acts, but from a fan's perspective that I'm not sure that everybody considers it from sometimes, the Witch can be a challenging stage to see a show from. The sound is much better than it once was, but look, I'm going to be honest. If you aren't one of the lucky, probably like 5 to 10,000 that are in front of the trees, you do not get a good view of the visuals if you're a little bit behind those trees in the Witch field.
This is true.
And if you were behind that point at a late night show, you're going to get a lot of sound bleed from the other and the couple of tents.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah. And I know people will have logical points to argue me on that, but that's where I stand on that. I think those particular acts, Glass Animals and Justice, there at least has to be some consideration to put them on what. I think you have to be a little nimble and consider things out of the box. They did that last year when they got Chapel on the Witch, when that would have just been, bad for everybody if she was in the tents. I think it's not the same situation, but I think those are huge acts that the Rue community wants to see on a big stage.
Daniel?
Yeah.
The Chapel show was intense.
Not in a tent, but it was intense. Yeah, you're real funny. Is that a mom joke? If my stupid jokes are dad jokes, is that a mom joke? No. All right. But yeah, I think we have dissected that all that we can. So we won't know for sure until the full schedule comes out. And have we heard any tea on when that may be? I think the latest I've heard is early April, perhaps.
So last year the schedule came out early April. I want to say it was around April the 2nd-ish. Don't quote me on that. Look on the Reddit and the Reddit Wikipedia for more information. This year the organizers say that they are shooting for either April or May.
I hope April. I've got to make some decisions. I've joked about this before, but I'm afraid to get into like a bunch of acts until I know who's going to conflict with one another or not. I haven't even listened to a ton of like the playlist because I'm like afraid that I will fall in love with something that I won't be able to see, and be brokenhearted about it. But yeah, so I guess we got month and a half at least before we find out about all of that. But at least we're getting these late night acts. That's a good sign. It's looking good so far, guys. Anything else on that, Charlie?
No, I think you covered it.
We go through this every time.
Right? Because you always say, is there anything else?
Well, okay.
What?
Look, no, because I want to give you, I'm holding space. Isn't that the popular term that the kids use these days? I'm holding space for you, making sure that you can speak if you want.
Well, in that case, can I speak about the one-day tickets that were
Oh, yeah.
announced today?
Yeah, what's the deal with that?
So they're going to go on sale tomorrow, or today, depends on when you're listening, February the 20th at 10 a.m. Central Time. And there is apparently a limited amount of one-day tickets available.
We talked about this last year. At first, I was like a little protective of the community that we have, but like the more that we learned and the more that I heard like very rational arguments from the organizers, the one-day tickets just make a lot of sense. The percentage of people that are coming in for one day are so like ridiculously low.
It is it's an extremely, extremely low percentage of people that are doing one day. And it really brings a lot of people to the farm who would never have experienced it otherwise.
Well, also, it brings people back to the farm because a lot of us have grown up a bit and have big boy or big girl jobs, and like taking almost a full week off from work is not an option for everybody.
Right.
So there's a lot of veteran Bonnaroovians that are dying to come but only have a day or two to come, and I think it makes a lot of sense for them too.
Right, exactly. I mean, not everyone can just take the whole week. You know, it's just a whole week is just not plausible for some people.
Yeah.
And I do understand, and I get where a lot of the protective people are coming from. You know, and I used to be like that. I used to be exactly like that. But truthfully, it really does not bother me whatsoever.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people will say, oh, there's going to be a lot more phone stealing or thieves at Bonnaroo because of these one-day passes. Truthfully, y'all, that really doesn't have anything to do with it. I mean,
Yeah.
Bonnaroo, their team knows about these phone rings, and they know about all this. Their security team, I mean, they're tight.
Yeah.
And they have actually stopped phone rings, you know, or phone thief rings, whatever,
Phone rings.
from coming into the festival before. You know, no one is going to decide whether or not they're going to go steal thousands of dollars worth of phones based on if the festival has one-day tickets or not. Like, that's just not how it works.
I learned a lot about that after the fact last year, and I don't want to freak anybody out because it's not really a 1984 Big Brother situation, but they have eyes all over the place. If you were ever sober enough and just kind of take notice, there are some places where you can see cameras pointing everywhere. And look, y'all, they don't care about a lot of our tomfoolery. They find it hilarious, actually. If you're doing just a little bit of you-know-what, they don't care. But they are looking for theft. That is something that they're looking for. So they can, you know, really pick out the pickpockets, no pun intended. So, again, with the one-day tickets, it's a small percentage, and it's probably a small percentage of that small percentage that come in with that intent.
Exactly.
So I don't think it's worth worrying about. In fact, I for one, welcome our one-day overlords. They're welcome to our parties.
One-day overlords.
Yeah, I'm
now,
stressing
what we
to make a
did
joke.
not learn today is if they're going to bring back the two-day passes. I personally doubt they will because it wasn't in the announcement today, so I don't see it happening. I can't even begin to imagine the logistics that it took last year to pull off those two-day passes. I mean,
Right.
that was just a lot of confusion for a lot of people. So I don't expect them to bring that back, but, you know, I could be surprised.
I got a question. Do you think that the fact that they're doing one-day tickets so far after the regular tickets have gone on sale indicates anything either way about how sales are going?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
I mean, it is a small percentage. I guess they just figured that small percentage could help them out a little bit.
Possibly they could say, oh, these one-day tickets will give us a bump that we need.
I don't know.
I mean, from everything that we're hearing, ticket sales are going good this year.
Yeah, I still expect a sellout at some point. I think we would have heard more signs if it was further along, but I would be willing to guess bet a few bucks that we are going to have a sellout earlier than we have in some time. Obviously, it's not going to be a 2020 sellout before everything went to pot with the pandemic. That went out in like a month. That's not going to happen, but I still think a sellout a month or so beforehand is entirely possible.
2020 sold out in March.
Well, it was a good lineup. I think that's a sign that they need to bring Tane back next year, but whatever. We'll talk about that another time. Now, there is another thing that we want to talk about. We have been neglecting to go into this because it's not a fun conversation. We almost went into it last year, but we ran a little long and decided not to.
Last week, you mean?
Last week, last time, whatever it was.
You said last year.
Last year? Oh, your margarita you gave me was a little stout, I guess. Anyway, yeah, we've been meaning to get around to this. And look, we'll just have to rip the Band-Aid off and talk about this. You guys know what is happening in the world, and particularly in our country right now. We're not going to talk about the politics of things. That's not what we do here on this show. But we do have to talk about the reality of something. I personally have talked to 3 people that are not coming to Bonnaroo this year because they legitimately have fear as an LGBT plus person or as a trans person that Tennessee is not a safe place for them right now, or the Deep South in general is not a safe space for them right now. And it is very easy to understand why they feel that way with everything that is happening over the past 2 months, whatever it may be.
Absolutely, it's
this is a tough
extremely
conversation.
Understandable. Like Daniel said, it's a very tough conversation to have, but it needs to be done.
Yeah, I haven't seen that many people talk about it. I have seen those handful of people say, like, hey, I'm afraid to come. But I haven't seen a conversation on Discord or Reddit or anywhere. And that doesn't mean that it hasn't happened. It just means that I haven't seen it. But I do think that those of us in the community need to do what we can to be understanding and supportive right now. I think it's easy to tell a person in those shoes, like, hey, you're going to be okay, but if we're not in those shoes, we can't completely and fully understand.
Exactly. And if, like Daniel said, I mean, I don't know how else to put it. If you're not in those shoes, you don't understand. And it's completely okay, and it's understandable. I mean, I get it.
Now, 2 things I did want to say about this. First of all, and most importantly of all, it is up to us in this community to be as supportive and empathetic as we possibly can right now. If you know of somebody who is having those concerns, talk with them. It's probably not the best idea to try to convince them, oh yeah, you should totally come, because that may not be where their head is at right now. I think the most important thing is to just listen and be there for them. Because
exactly.
Look, this probably hurts for a good number of people, because we all know, because of the House of Yes and so many of these things, Brew is a welcoming place for this community. But let's be honest, with the things going the way they are in the country right now, a lot of the surrounding area may not be for these type of people. So I think you need to be there, you need to listen, you need to reach out. I think that's on us individually as people, but all of us as a community as well.
Exactly. And the Roo Bus and the Roo Bus group will always be a safe and welcoming space for anyone. If you're ever feeling alone at Bonnaroo, if you're ever feeling, a little stressed out or anything, please come to the Roo Bus and hang out with us.
Yeah. Look, we are radically accepting at our group. So, we have a group of about 100 or so people at the bus. We do a group camp. We put the pride flags out for a reason. We want you to know that you're welcome and loved there.
Our group is multinationals. We have a
little bit of everybody.
We got everybody.
Well, we have had international campers many times. In fact, I heard from one today. She's going to a Burning Man thing in Korea.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, if you are coming and you need a place to hang out where you are 1,000,000% accepted, come sit with us, come have a snack, come have a drink, come chill out in the air conditioning in the Roo Bus. We're here to talk with you. If you just need to be in a place that has radical allies and friends, you are always more than welcome with us. The second thing I did want to say, and this isn't to call anybody out, this isn't to take shots or anything, I want to see more official support for that community that is very much metaphorically under fire right now. I don't think that we have seen anything from official Bonnaroo accounts or whatever that says we are an accepting place. We are an accepting event. I think with things that are being passed on a state level in Tennessee, and obviously with things being passed on a federal level these days, people feel, legitimately attacked right now, especially if they're a trans person. I think more needs to be done to make those people feel more reassured that they are safe and welcome at Rue.
Oh, I 100% agree. Back last year or the year before, when the state of Tennessee was trying to pass the drag law, Bonnaroo did put out something, in support of that community. But I would love to see something put out now because, like we said, we personally know people who are not coming to Bonnaroo because they absolutely fear driving through Tennessee.
Yeah, and I get it. I don't blame them. But I think more needs to be done. And, I know this isn't the most fun conversation, but I think it's one that we need to have. So, we have a big circle of close friends in our group, but there's many of you that have other circles where we don't know people. Have these conversations. Make sure that everybody in our community knows that they are welcome. And like I said, don't pressure anybody. If they feel unsafe driving through Tennessee, that's, their decision. We shouldn't try to sway them on that. But at the same time, you should let them know, whether it be on the farm in June or whether it be in your inbox or your homes, let them know that they are safe and welcome with you. And like we said, you are safe and welcome with us, whether it be at our house in Huntsville or at the bus once we get there in June.
Exactly.
All right, so we'll leave it at that. And I know that's a weird note to leave it on. So I do want to go back and thank everybody once again for coming to hang with us in New York this past week.
Man, that was such a good time.
Oh, man. I was mainly there for the day job. I wish I had more time to hang out with everybody, but we will very soon. Some of our circle have some shenanigans coming up at some different shows in Nashville and Vegas here in a couple of months. I'm very much looking forward to that. And before you know it, it'll be June, and we have a whole week of bullshit together.
Heck yeah.
On the farm. Yeah. But yeah, guys, the 100-day mark will be coming up before too long, and everything is just going to fly by. So it is time to start thinking about all of your plans. Like, get that tin out, make sure everything's good. Start talking game plans with your group if you have one. There's a lot to be doing. A lot of this isn't theoretical, like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to get back to the farm? Like, no, we're going to be back to the farm. The next couple of months are about to fly by, guys. It's time to start getting ready. We're going to have a lot of stuff here in the next couple of weeks that will help out, hopefully. So I think next week we are going to have the one and only Atlanta's favorite son, Mitchell, will be hosting the show. He has been a little bit under the weather the past couple of days. I heard he finally turned the corner today. I'm going to be talking with him the next couple of days. He is going to be hosting. He is calling the shots for an episode. And another person that we know and love, our friend Jay, is looking to do one very soon as well. I don't have that particularly scheduled out, but that will be soon. And as you heard from us earlier, we'll be having Kara on to take a deep dive into Goose because they are huge these days, guys. So looking forward to that as well. It's going to be a fun couple of months, man. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up.
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
And again, if you and your crew want to host an episode, we are trying to make this more of a community effort. We will hand the keys and the RSS feed over to you. Just send me a message. The best place is to hit us up on the Discord. And where can they find that, Sharla?
So all of our social media links. So if you go to The Real Rue Bus on Instagram, if you go to The Real Rue Bus on Blue Sky, Facebook, Twitter, whatever your jam is, all of our links is going to have a link to join our Discord.
Heck yeah, so you can find that there. So if you're looking to host an episode, let me know. We'd love to try to schedule it out. So again, thanks to everybody in New York. Thanks to everybody for listening. June's going to be here before you know it. But until then, get out there and radiate positivity.
Bye.
See you next time.